welcome back to Hunt Hill at Home. I'm so glad that you joined us again today. Now we're going to be talking about detritivores, and I'm going to explain exactly what those are in just a little bit. But even if you don't know what a detritivore is, you might know some things that, some examples of detritivores. One is an earthworm, and I've got a joke about earthworms today. So, did you hear the joke about the fish that got addicted to eating worms? Yeah, fish got hooked. So most of you are familiar with worms, and worms are a very commonly found detritivore around here. Now, you hear me saying that word a lot, the detritivore. Now, detritivores are similar to the other categories you might know, things like carnivores or omnivores or herbivores. Now, carnivores eat meat or carne. Herbivores eat plants. Omnivores eat both plants and animals or meat. So, if you think about detritivores, they eat detritus. Now, what is detritus? Now, detritus is a waste or also things like debris. Now, if you look around yourselves or if you look around your forest, you're going to find some detritus. I can pick some up right here. We'll take a closer look at this. So here's some detritus. It's just a mixture of dead things that have fallen to the ground. Some of them are very intact, like this oak leaf. Some of them are just little shreds, like this shredded maple leaf. Some of them are old pine needles. And there's just various things throughout here. Now, a detritivore is something that eats detritus. And I found one right in this thing that I scooped up. So we've got a little itty bitty, let's see if we can get it to focus. We've got an itty bitty red worm. Now, I have very mixed feelings about worms because worms are very cool. They're interesting creatures to have around. But did you know that worms are no longer native to Wisconsin? So there used to be worms in Wisconsin before that last ice age that we had, but it's been thousands of years since our last ice age. So if you live in an area that got hit by the glaciers in the last ice age, typically anyone who lives above the 45th latitude in Wisconsin, so if you live north of Tilden, Wisconsin, you probably were covered by glaciers in this last ice age. If you were covered by glaciers in this last ice age, then worms are not native to your area. So, a lot of people ask, well, is there a problem with worms? I've heard they're great for my garden. Well, the thing is, since worms are detritivores, they eat all the detritus on the ground. Now, all of the plants that have grown up in these forests have grown accustomed to being in a place where there's a thick detritus layer. It's also called a duff layer, and I'll refer to it as the duff layer. So this duff layer here is only a little bit thick. It's got maybe a 1/4 inch of that. So we don't have much of a duff layer in this section of the forest that we're looking at. And that is because we have a lot of detritivores, and most of them are invasive ones. So I'm going to show you some ones that I caught before starting this video. So one of the ones that I caught, we saw before, it's our worm. So any earthworms, night crawlers, redworms, anything like that that you find in this part of Wisconsin are non-native species. So we do not want to be spreading these to areas that don't already have them, because we could cause a major problem with the ecosystems in those areas. We also have some native ones that live around here, and our native detritivore, I'm trying to get it out of the box here, is our millipede. Oop! My millipede is a little bit shy, so we just made a little circle in my hand. So here's the millipede. Oops, I dropped him. Where'd he go? Well, I lost him. We'll find another millipede soon. So millipedes are called millipedes, which means 1,000 legs. Now they don't actually have 1,000 legs, but they look like they have so many legs, way more than you could count. And they are detritivores as well. So they live in this duff layer and they eat small sections of it. Now the millipedes by themselves couldn't have made a whole lot of damage, but with the millipedes and the earthworms, there is some damage. Now another non-native species of detritivore is the terrestrial isopod. Now I'm hoping we'll find some today, but we'll see. The terrestrial isopod, you probably better know it as the pill bug, or maybe as the roly-poly, or maybe as a sow bug. If you've heard of any of those, they're all the same type of thing. They're a terrestrial isopod, and they're actually a crustacean. They're closely related to things like lobsters and shrimp, and not closely related to the bugs around here. They are also non-native, and they are kind of fun to see, but both the isopods and the earthworms came over here most likely on ships, and then got spread around with gardening and those sorts of activities. So we're going to take a look around and see if we can find any in our area in this section of the Red Oak Trail. So I'm going to flip my camera around so you can see what I'm seeing. So if we're looking at the forest floor here, you can see here's our log. And if you notice, there are lots of spots where we can actually see the soil on the forest floor, and it's not covered by a duff layer. This is not natural for this type of forest. Most of these forests have a really thick duff layer where the leaves are covering a couple of inches. If you look really closely here, you'll see why. So right here, we've got a whole bunch of worm castings. Worm castings are basically worm poop, and it's dirt that's gotten processed through the worm, and it has a lot of nutrients and things in it. A lot of people like the worm castings if they break them up to use for gardening because they are nutritious. But we don't want to see so much of that because in this area the trees and plants are adapted to a thick duff layer, and we don't want to be seeing the dirt around here. Now let's see if we can find any of our detritivores. So let's take a look under a log and see what's under here. Now I see a lot of worm castings around here already, so I'm going to guess we'll see some worms. So we look right underneath. Sometimes you have to move things around to see what's hiding under. Oop, I saw something scurry away. Here we go. So right here, we've got a terrestrial isopod. Can I get my camera to focus? We'll find out. So a terrestrial isopod is also known as your pill bug or your sow bug. This one is not rolling up, so it's not a roly-poly. So it's best known as a sow bug. We'll look at it close right here. So these guys have, I believe, 7 pairs of legs, and they have gills underneath. So they have to stay damp all the time in order to survive. So they love living down in the duff layer where they can stay nice and damp. Let's check out under a couple more logs. I'm looking for a log I can lift with one hand. Here we go. Oh, there's some slugs under here. Where are all the worms that made all these castings? A lot of worms go deep underground, so you can't always see them. We'll check one more log, see if we can find some worms under that log. Over here, there's some cool detritus, where you see a log that's breaking down. Oh, here's a worm. This is one of those little red worms. All right, well, I hope you got a chance to see some of the detritivores that live around here. And I hope you check out your local forests to see if you have any that live around you and see what you can do to help stop the spread of invasive earthworms. If you have any questions about it, leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Bye.